On the morning of her 18th birthday, a solitary village healer is dragged before a dying king. The only thing that can save him is the forbidden price of her own humanity. Bound to a ravenous wolf spirit, she must surrender her soul or watch the kingdom collapse in blood and shadow. But the deeper she sinks into the contract, the more she suspects the king's life is not the only thing at stake. If she fulfills her oath, will she doom everyone she ever loved? Or is there a darker secret clawing its way to the surface? But let me start from the beginning. The cold iron manacles bit into Elowen's wrists as the guard yanked her forward. Wet grass soaked her dress's hem. She stumbled, catching the scent of damp earth and moss, and the faint metallic tang of her own sweat. Why was the sun already up? Why was everyone watching? Why hadn't they dragged anyone else from their home? She didn't know. The questions gnawed at her, but no answers came. The guards marched her past the village's edge. Dew clung to her ankles. Each step sent a fresh sting where the iron rubbed raw against bone. Behind, children's voices faded to fearful hushes. Ahead, villagers stood silent, faces half lost in the mist rising off the distant river. She wasn't supposed to be seen at dawn. She wasn't supposed to be chained. But the weight of the moment pressed down on her, heavy and unrelenting. In the clearing's centre, a man waited, tall, sharp-featured, dressed in midnight blue velvet with silver trim gleaming in the pale light. Soldiers flanked him, their hands tight on spear shafts. He raised a hand, and the murmurs died. Silver-grey eyes locked on her as she was forced to her knees. The iron sent a shock of cold through her arms. She kept her head down, breath shallow, counting the pebbles in the mud. Her wrists ached. The envoy didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to.
Bring her forward.
The guard shoved her. Mud splattered her cloak. Someone in the crowd cursed beneath their breath. A woman's voice, hoarse with fear.
She's healed half the village. You can't...
Silence.
He didn't look at the villagers, only at Elowen. She felt the weight of his gaze, sharp as a blade pressed to the back of her neck. If this story has you hooked, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss what comes next.
By order of King Edric of the Wolfblood Crown, Elowen of the Ashwood, you are herewith condemned to royal custody.
A faint tremor ran through her knees. The guards yanked her upright. The iron manacles chafed, a sour, dirty pain.
You will answer for what you carry. The crown demands your life, or what's left of it, in service to the king.
He sounded bored, almost pitying, as if the words had lost all meaning long ago. Mud slicked her palms. She met his gaze, storm-grey eyes to silver, and said nothing. If he wanted begging, he'd starve on it. For 3 heartbeats, no one moved. Birds broke the hush with a single harsh cry overhead.
Do you understand the terms?
She lifted her chin. The movement felt dangerous. Still, she made her voice a stone.
I understand you want something you don't deserve.
A guard's fist jerked her arm. Her sleeve slid back, exposing pale skin, marked by a web of black veins crawling up from her wrist, ugly, unnatural, and alive beneath the skin. Alaric flinched. He covered it quickly, with a step back, but she saw it. His face, composed an instant before. Shuttered, lips pressed tight. The guards noticed nothing. The villagers stared only at her face, not her hands. But the envoy's eyes flicked to the veins and did not return. Why was a royal afraid of a mark no one else saw?
Take her. The king will not receive her in daylight.
The soldiers jerked her to her feet, pulling her toward the woods beyond the palace walls, away from the village, into the trees still thick with morning mist and the wild tang of rain-laced pine. Chains scraped, iron biting deeper. The crowd's anger gave way to silence. Thick and ugly, somewhere behind, the river's murmur sounded almost like distant laughter. Elowen glanced back, only once. She caught the envoy watching her, not as a captor, but as if she were the knife he'd been ordered to carry, and did not trust in his hand. She did not look back again. The dew had already soaked through her shoes. She counted each step into the unknown, the black veins twitching beneath her skin, the king's order echoing in her skull. And Alaric, silver-eyed, unreadable, kept his distance, but his fear lingered long after his words were gone. Elowen's bare feet slipped against moss-slick stone, iron cuffs clattered, every step sending cold up her bones. Why were the guards so tense? Was it the howling, or the circle of ancient stones ahead? And what had stained her wrist with black veins that twisted deeper beneath her skin? A wolf's cry shattered the mist, echoing between pillars carved with runes. The guards flinched, not Alaric. He stood at the circle's heart, midnight blue velvet glinting in dawn's uncertain light, silver eyes fixed on her as if daring her to move. He nodded once, and the guards shoved her forward. The court healer followed, lips pinched, a bundle of bandages slung over one thin arm. The air smelled of damp earth and something sharp. Metal, old blood, fear. Alaric unrolled a parchment across a stone altar, inked with runes that seemed to shift beneath the pale sky. He lifted a dagger, its blade dull, its hilt worn smooth by centuries of bargains.
You know why you are here.
You want a soul for your king.
The price was set long before you drew breath. The contract demands your blood. Sign, and the curse may be contained.
Elowen's pulse fluttered at her throat, but her voice stayed calm.
You mean owned. You want to bind me.
The healer let out a thin, dry laugh, gaze locked on Elowen's shaking hands.
Try not to think, girl. It only stings for a moment.
A spike of anger steadied Elowen's grip. She took the dagger. The metal was sticky with old rust. Or was it something else? She pressed the blade to her palm, jaw set, refusing to look away as blood welled and dripped. The scent was hot and metallic, flooding the air as the first drop hit the parchment. Smoke curled up. The runes flickered, hungry. The king watched from the edge of the circle, hooded eyes, sharp as flint.
Begin.
Alaric recited the contract aloud. Each word felt heavier than stone. When he offered her the quill, black ink swirling in the glass, Elowen hesitated. Then, a flash behind her eyes, the king writhing in agony, flames leaping from his skin, her village ringed with wolves and fire. She dipped the quill in the blood pooling in her palm. As she scrawled her name, the parchment hissed. Her blood smoked where it touched the surface. The wolf mark on the contract seemed to move, twisting, hungry for more. The ink bled into her skin, searing hot. She gasped, fingers spasming. Black veins clawed up her arm, burning, threading beneath her skin in the shape of a wolf's snarl. A jolt of awe broke through the pain, something ancient, sacred. In the shadows beyond the stones, silver fur caught the dawn. A giant wolf, spectral and impossibly real, lowered its head to her in silent recognition. Elowen's breath shook, the court stunned silent. The contract's words vanished, as if swallowed by fire. What had she just given away? Her soul, her freedom, or something worse? Why did the wolf mark burn, and what secrets pulsed beneath her skin now? Before she could ask, the wolf spirit lifted its head, amethyst eyes meeting hers. It bowed, and for one heartbeat, the world felt suspended, waiting for her next move. Candles guttered in the damp forest air, gold fire pooling on velvet banners, stamped with snarling wolf heads, the smell of burning sage tangled with wet moss. Elowen shivered, feeling the black veins beneath her skin pulse with a cold, wolfish rhythm. Why did the king's ring glow violet? She didn't know. King Edric waited beneath a crimson pavilion, slouched on a throne of carved oak and fir. His skin had the colour of old parchment, eyes sharp as splinters. A single gold ring, wolf sigil raised in relief, caught the candlelight as he gestured, not to Elowen, but to Alaric.
You bring me the witch, at last.
Alaric's voice was measured, but his jaw had tensed. He did not look at Elowen, though she felt his gaze burning at the edge of her vision.
Her name is Elowen, Your Majesty. She stands ready, as you commanded.
The court healer hovered behind the king, eyes tracking Elowen with a scorn that prickled her skin. Elowen stared straight ahead, refusing to bow. The king ignored her. Instead, he spoke to Alaric again, voice heavy with command.
Inform the villager, if she fails to rid me of this affliction by the next full moon, her settlement will feed my hounds. No exceptions.
The threat hung thick as the scent of blood. Elowen's jaw tightened. A spotlight of dread pressed into her chest, sharper than any chain. She forced herself to step forward.
I am here. Speak to me, not about me.
The king's hand spasmed on the throne's arm, veins roped and trembling. The wolf ring glimmered again, as if drinking the candlelight. He did not deign to look at her.
I address my own. The matter is simple. You cleanse what plagues me, you return to your simple life. Fail, and your people pay the price for your inadequacy.
A low, hungry growl rippled the air. The wolf spirit had materialized, half substance, half mist, behind the throne, violet eyes fixed on Elowen. She could feel the spirit's presence, its hunger, a cold intelligence coiling around the king like chained lightning. Elowen's hands balled at her sides. The black veins on her wrists itched, alive. She studied the king, his shallow breaths, the sweat on his brow despite the cold. His gaze never wavered from Alaric, but Elowen saw the fear buried deep beneath his pride.
This curse? What provoked it? When did it begin?
The court healer answered, voice clipped and condescending.
You will speak when spoken to, girl. Your ignorance is evident.
Alaric's eyes flicked to Elowen. Apology, maybe, or warning. But the king snapped.
Look away, Alaric. I will not have my bloodline distracted by peasant tricks.
Alaric's composure slipped. His hands curled into fists at his side. His eyes found hers just long enough for her to see something raw, regret, or maybe shame, before he obeyed and fixed his gaze on the trembling tapestries. Elowen seized the moment, pressing on.
If you want a cure, you'll answer. I need truth, not orders.
The king's lips curled, but his voice lowered, brittle as old wood.
You presume much for one with a noose around her village. But if you must know, a mark appeared on my flesh weeks ago. Since then, fever, weakness, and the spirit's teeth in my dreams. You will fix this.
There, in the flicker of candlelight, Elowen caught it. The wolf sigil on the king's ring pulsed with a faint violet shimmer in time with his words. The spirit behind him seemed tethered, chained by more than fear. The king leaned forward, breath rattling.
Begin, or your home is ash.
A wolf pup nudged against her ankle. Its fur was soft, a startling warmth in the cold pavilion. Elowen crouched, her chains clinking, and met the pup's gold eyes. For a heartbeat, the threat faded. The beast trusted her, even if no one else did. But the king's glare returned, and the spirit's gaze sharpened.
My king, perhaps.
Enough. Stand aside.
An ache twisted behind Elowen's eyes as the wolf spirit pressed closer, its mouth opening in a soundless snarl, the candles guttering in response. Elowen straightened, every muscle taut.
Then I'll need the ring.
The king's hand froze, the sigil catching the light, violet, gold, and something darker. He did not move. The moment stretched, crackling, and behind the throne, the wolf spirit lunged. Smoke thickened the tent air, coiling through rough canvas and stinging Elowen's eyes. She pulled her cloak tighter, sensing the earthy musk of wolf fur clinging to the bedding beneath her. Every breath dragged herbal incense into her lungs, gritty and sharp. Her veins, now clawing past her wrist in jagged black, wolfish shapes, throbbed with each heartbeat, prickling as if lit from within. Somewhere outside, a voice barked her name. No answer came. The guards didn't bother checking again. Left alone, she pressed her palm against the cold ground, feeling not comfort, but the hollow chill of captivity. The air shifted, not with wind, but with something weightier. Mist spilled in, coiling like sinew. The wolf spirit surged from the gloom, fur shimmering silver, amethyst eyes glowing, teeth bared in a rictus that was almost a grin. A wave of wet fur and burning herbs hit her nose, making her flinch.
Obedience. The king lives. Your price.
Elowen's jaw locked. Her tongue felt too heavy.
What price? I won't give you everything.
The wolf circled, paws silent, but leaving frost in the straw. Its voice flowed around her, more growl than word.
A bite. A thread from your heart. The soft one. The one who sang.
Her mother, the only memory warm enough to hold off the cold. Elowen's fingers trembled. She hated that the wolf could sense it.
Not my whole soul. A single piece. That's all you get, for now.
The spirit prowled closer, mist brushing her skin with a sudden icy bite. Her veins burned. It nosed at her hand. Breath like midnight air.
A morsel, then, for tonight. The rest waits.
A drumbeat pounded in her ears. She could bargain, or she could lose everything at once. She bared her teeth in a silent snarl, then nodded.
Take it.
The wolf pressed its muzzle to her wrist. A memory slicked away. The scent of rain in her mother's hair. The hush of a lullaby in a language she'd never find again. The loss stabbed deeper than any knife. A second black mark flared across her skin, burning hot. She bit her lip, refusing to make a sound, but the pain left her vision smeared and jagged. The wolf's eyes flickered, its mouth twisted, almost amused.
Strong, most beg or scream, you only curse.
Elowen struggled for control, then managed a brittle smile.
Screaming's for the king. He needs to know he's won.
A low rumble echoed in the tent, halfway between a laugh and a warning.
That one stinks of pride. So many rules. Even his sleep is formal.
Elowen snorted, voice raw.
If Alaric ever smiled, the court would faint.
A beat of quiet. Her shoulders dropped, then tensed again as the spirit's gaze sharpened.
Each bargain, more is lost. Your king's health fades fast. The next cost, deeper still.
Footsteps thudded outside, heavy and impatient. The tent flap snapped open. Alaric entered, silver-grey eyes cutting through the smoky haze, lips set in a line colder than steel. He took in Elowen's new mark, the lingering mist, her clenched fists.
You look altered. Is it done?
She didn't answer, just glared. Her wrist throbbed under his gaze. He knelt, lowering his voice.
What did it take from you?
She turned away, swallowing the void where her mother's face should have been.
Does it matter? The king gets his extra day. I get to keep breathing.
He hesitated but did not reach for her. His expression shifted, something uncertain, almost regretful. A brittle laugh escaped her. The wolf's warning still echoed in her chest. Next time, a deeper cost. But now Alaric was watching, and the king would soon demand more. She flexed her wrist, staring at the new mark. Somewhere beyond the tent, the king's voice snapped a command, and the guards dragged someone else screaming towards the circle. Elowen's stomach clenched. How many would pay for this bargain? How long until the wolf asked for a price even she wouldn't pay? The king's shadow fell across the tent wall, sharp and unforgiving. Dew clung to the wildflowers, making each step slick as Elowen slipped from her tent into the pale dawn. What secret does the forest hide? Misty light filtered through the ancient oaks at the forest's edge, turning the moss to silver. The scent of crushed wild mint rose beneath her boots, sharp, clean, almost medicinal. She bent to gather sprigs, hands steady despite the crawling ache where black veins inked her wrist. Each breath tasted like wet earth and secrets. Voices floated from beyond a thicket. Elowen crept closer, pulse sharpening. Alaric's measured tone cut through the fretful muttering of guards.
You will not speak of last night outside this camp. The king's condition is under control. The forest is safe, so long as the boundaries are respected.
A soldier's reply was shaky, barely more than a whisper. The breeze carried only fragments. Wolf, not natural. Her eyes.
Enough.
Footsteps thudded. The guards drifted off toward camp, boots sinking into damp loam. Elowen lingered in the shadow of a hawthorn, fingers curled tight around a handful of mint. Her veins stung. She straightened, stepping into view before Alaric could leave. His eyes found her, silver grey, unreadable, a flicker of something like regret, passing as quick as a cloud.
They're scared. You're lying to them.
He didn't flinch. Rain-laced air ruffled his sleeve as he faced her, posture still as if carved from stone.
Panic leads to mistakes. The king's orders are clear.
Elowen let her gaze linger on his hands, steady, fingers stained faintly green from crushed leaves. Not from fear, but from knowledge, from complicity.
His illness. It's not a sickness. It's a bargain.
A muscle in Alaric's jaw flexed. For the first time, he looked away, studying the ground where dew pooled in wolf tracks.
Some bargains can't be broken, only transferred.
The words hovered, cold and final. She felt the meaning thrumming beneath, a warning, a plea, or something else she couldn't name.
What did he trade, and why me?
He exhaled, visible in the chill. His voice dropped lower.
I cannot answer. My loyalty is not yours to judge.
A lull. Somewhere nearby, a wolf pup, too small, all ears and paws, tumbled after a spinning leaf. Its fur was silver as fog, paws slicked with dew and mint. Elowen almost smiled. The pup yipped, missing the leaf and sliding into her skirt. For a heartbeat, the world felt less cruel. But the calm splintered as the black ache twisted beneath her skin, sharper than before. Elowen swallowed, fixing Alaric with a storm-grey stare.
Secrets won't save him. Or me.
He met her gaze, mask rigid but his fingers trembling, just once.
Survival rarely concerns itself with truth, Elowen.
The mint crushed beneath her heel, scent flooding up, clean, wild, impossible to ignore. Somewhere in camp, a horn blared, urgent, wrong. Elowen tensed. Alaric's hand hovered as if to shield or restrain her, but a shadow flickered between the trees, far too large for any ordinary wolf. Dew clung to the gilded tables beneath the ancient oaks. The trunks were webbed with moss, streaked by pale dawn. Elowen sat on a stool apart. Her cloak's edge barely brushed the wildflowers and crushed grass. Her storm-grey eyes tracked the courtiers, their voices low and bitter as sour cider. A servant poured wine into the king's goblet, the metallic scent cut through roasted apples and burning sage. It prickled Elowen's tongue even from afar. Nearby, Alaric's silhouette loomed tall and composed, gaze fixed on nothing and everything. Did he see her? She didn't know. She felt his surveillance, like a heat in the cool morning. A noblewoman whispered behind her hand. Another, emboldened, flicked her eyes to the black veins coiling up Elowen's wrist, exposed where her sleeve had slipped. She let them gawk, the wolf's mark, the price of their bargain. Every glance carved at her dignity, but she kept her chin high. King Edric raised his goblet, lips pressed in a ruler's line. The gold ring at his finger glinted against the misty light. He swallowed. His next breath stuttered. A sharp, bitter taste hung in the air. It mingled with the wine's sweetness. Spoiled metal over honey. Elowen stiffened, too familiar. She had tasted this poison before, not on her tongue, but in the ache of her cursed blood. Edric's goblet crashed to the table. He spasmed, hands clawing at his throat. Froth formed at the corners of his mouth. Courtiers recoiled, shrieking. Guards moved too slowly. The king convulsed, eyes rolling, crimson velvet of his robe blotched with spilled wine. Elowen surged to her feet. Chains at her ankles scraped rough against stone. No one moved to stop her. Superstition. Shock. She couldn't tell. The metallic tang sharpened in the air. Every breath burned her throat. She dropped to her knees beside the king. His lips were blue. He writhed, fingernails scoring her skin as she gripped his arm.
Poison. Get back. You'll only spread it.
Elowen ignored her. She pressed her palm to Edric's chest. Her black veins pulsed against his skin. Through fur and velvet, the wolf spirit inside coiled, hungry, waiting. She bit the inside of her cheek hard enough to draw blood. Iron and bitter herbs flooded her mouth. With a whisper only the wolf spirit heard, she let a drop of cursed blood bead on her fingertip and touch the king's lips. The king jerked. The air shimmered, As if the old oaks recoiled, the court held its breath. Elowen's veins snaked darker, biting up her arm, but the spasms slowed. His colour returned, not all at once, but like dawn after a storm. A murmur of horror rippled through the court. Someone crossed themselves. Another spat into the grass.
She saved his life.
His voice was measured, but his eyes betrayed calculation, and something else quickly shuttered. Elowen's hand trembled as she met his gaze. For a moment, the ache in her bones dulled. She was not a prisoner, not a monster, just a girl who refused to let him die.
Unnatural filth. You tainted his majesty with witch blood.
The king was gasping, his chest rising unevenly. He glared at Elowen, then at his court.
Seize her. If I die, she dies first.
Guards hesitated. The air thickened with outrage and fear. Someone shouted for torches. Elowen braced herself, blood crusting at the corner of her mouth. She felt the poison's echo inside her. A servant stumbled, grip slipping on a silver platter slick with cider. The tray clattered into a lord's lap, showering him with roasted apples and wet crumbs. Laughter burst out, wild, frantic. A crack in the panic held for 3 heartbeats, then anger surged back. Elowen wiped her mouth. Her veins seethed beneath her skin. The wolf's shape twisted tighter.
The poison, it was not natural. Someone wanted the king dead.
He stepped between Elowen and the nearest guard, voice low and unyielding.
Or perhaps they wanted her blamed.
The crowd pressed in. Elowen stared at the king. His shaking hands, the crimson drop at his lip. Something flickered in his gaze. Fear, calculation, or sickness deeper than any poison.
She must die, now, before the curse spreads.
Chains rattled, wild flowers crushed beneath boots. Elowen looked up at Alaric, searching for any sign he would stop them. His eyes, unreadable, hers blazed with defiance. The metallic taste lingered on her tongue, sharp as a warning. The court's shouts merged with the distant howl of a wolf in the trees, and the next guard lunged for her throat. The tower stank of damp earth and moss. Moonlight slanted through the barred window, pale and cold, casting bars across the clammy iron manacles at Elowen's feet. Each step pressed the rough, wet stone against her skin, chill biting up through her soles, making her toes curl. She tried to keep moving, if only to keep feeling. Something scraped beneath her heel. She knelt, ignoring the ache in her legs. Dark fur, wolf fur, caught in a crack, wedged between crumbling mortar. Next to it, a pattern of claw marks ran down the inside of the wall, gouged deep. She pressed her palm flat to the cold, rough stone. A tremor buzzed beneath her skin. It shouldn't be possible. Stone and iron were meant to keep spirits out, or in. But the markings said the wolf spirit had passed through, as if the castle walls were nothing but mist. A harsh laugh threatened at the back of her throat. She swallowed it. No time. A guard clattered past outside, boots echoing. She heard him mutter about cursed girls and bad luck, voice wobbling. The stink of fear in sweat and leather drifted under the door. Elowen's foot found something metal along the floorboards, a bent silver hairpin half buried in grit. She turned it over in her fingers, weighing the risk. If the wolf spirit could slip through stone, what use was a lock? Still, she knelt at the rusty lock, bare feet numbing against stone, and set to work. It took 3 tries before the pin caught. Her hands shook, not from cold, not just from cold, and the lock snapped open with a brittle, satisfying click. In the courtyard below, a wolf's howl shattered the night. The cry rolled through the stones, thick with promise and hunger. The guard outside cursed. His footsteps ran before he could think better of it. Elowen slipped into the corridor, breath shallow, pressing close to the wall. The hall reeked of moss and old blood. Far below, another howl, louder, closer, sent panic through the castle like a thrown stone through glass. Doors slammed. Voices shouted. She followed the map in her mind. 1 spiral staircase, 2 doors, the east wing. Her feet flashed pale in the moonlight as she ran, slipping over the damp stones. At the first landing, she froze. A sentry slumped against the wall, snoring into his cloak, sword loose in his grip. She eased past, barely breathing, cloak brushing his boot. The chill crept up her legs, every step prickling with danger.
Idiots.
She whispered it under her breath, lips barely moving. In another life, she might have laughed. A loud crash echoed below. Something heavy, iron bent by spirit or beast. She darted into an alcove, chest tight, mouth full of copper and moss. Across the hall, another door stood ajar, a storeroom or maybe a way out. The howling grew, fractured by stone, no longer just outside. Elowen pressed her palm to her chest. Her veins itched in response, blackness crawling higher, a wolf's head blooming beneath her collarbone. For a heartbeat, she wondered if she was already something else. She forced herself forward, hugging the wall, bare feet slick on the wet stone. The moonlight caught her hair as she slipped through the next door. Behind her, the howling changed. Higher, closer, almost inside. She ran, the tower shook. A voice, Alaric's, called her name. Urgent, sharp. She stumbled to a halt, heart thrashing, back to the wall. She wasn't sure which was more dangerous, what hunted her from below, or who waited ahead. The wind scoured the rampart, biting at Elowen's cheeks and tugging strands of hair free. She pressed her back to the crumbling stone, gaze fixed on the distant treetops, blurred by darkness. Above, the night sky split with streaks of silver, meteors crossing the broken moon, burning lines that faded almost as quickly as hope. Alaric's boots sounded on the wet cobbles behind her. The echo was swallowed by the wind. She tensed. Her hand found the cold edge of her cloak, ready to run, to fight, to do anything but beg. He stopped beside her. His breath clouded in the cold, but his voice was measured, softer than she expected.
You have no interest in raising the alarm. Wise.
Elowen said nothing. Her storm-grey eyes found the wolf veins crawling under her skin, darker now, like ink spilled beneath ice.
If you mean to leap, don't. The drop is further than it looks.
A streak of violet fire split the sky. For one heartbeat, the world was caught between silence and awe. The icy wind bit at her wrists, where torn linen offered no shield.
Why are you here?
He hesitated, a crack in his composure. The wind made his silver-brown hair restless.
I have been searching for an alternative to the king's bargain. Peace, if such a thing exists here.
She studied him, the jaw set tight, hands tucked behind his back, as if even his fingers might betray him. She took a step away, but the wind forced her close again, cloak snapping. Her pulse thudded fast and hard, but she forced her voice out.
You fear your king?
Not as much as I fear what's in these walls. The wolf's hunger is not easily satisfied.
A tremor ran through her, half from cold, half from the memory of the spectral jaws at her throat. She glanced upward. Another meteor fell, brighter than the last. For a moment, all she saw was possibility cut through darkness.
I envy your solitude.
The words landed strange, flat. She frowned. An ache she had no name for flaring beneath her breastbone. A faint smile ghosted his mouth, gone before she could believe it was there. He reached into his pocket, then offered something small, a wolf, whittled from pale wood, the grain rough beneath his controlled fingers.
For luck. Wolves are survivors, aren't they?
She took the carving, thumb grazing a chipped ear. The wind lashed her face, eyes watering, but she kept her voice steady.
Luck is for the desperate.
Then tonight, we are both desperate.
Above them, the sky burned with falling stars. The castle below was chaos. Shouts, a distant howl, the taste of rain-laced stone in the air. She closed her fingers around the figurine. The cold bit to the bone, but she did not step away.
If you know a peaceful way out, say it now.
He looked at her, not the wolf-shaped veins, not her wounds, but her. For the first time, she wondered if he saw more than a bargaining chip.
Not yet, but I will find one. I owe you that much.
The wind drove him a step nearer. His shoulder brushed her arm, a touch that lingered, unspoken in the hollow between them. She let it stand. Above, a final meteor flared and died. Below, a wolf howled. Elowen's grip tightened, carving digging into her palm. The wind carried the king's voice, commanding, impatient, from the courtyard. Alaric didn't flinch, but his jaw locked. Elowen watched his profile in the broken moonlight, questions crowding her tongue. None safe to ask. The next time the wind bit exposed skin, she didn't pull away. Dawn crawled slow and uncertain across the open field, mist curling above wild grass slick with dew. The smell of damp earth thickened the air, sour and cold. Elowen flexed her stiff fingers around the reins, feeling her veins burn. Each branch of darkness now spidered high along her wrists, pulsing in time with her unease. In the hush, only the distant thudding rhythm of hooves on the soft ground gave any sense of movement, muffled and relentless. Alaric rode beside her, his posture perfect, boot heels immaculate against the black mare's flanks. Misty light caught along the silver trim of his doublet, turning him statue pale. The silence between them gnawed, his gaze fixed on the fog ahead, hers on the place where the spectral wolf had last been seen, a memory half made of hunger and warning. A flicker, a shape, moving low through the grass near the tombstones at the far edge of the field. Elowen's breath sharpened. The wolf spirit's scent lingered, metallic and wild, carried on the breeze. She didn't know why she felt so exposed, so vulnerable. Was this really the moment, or was something else lurking just beyond her sight?
We're close.
Her voice was quiet, but it cut the hush. She nudged her horse forward. The animal balked, hooves stamping a muddy rhythm. Alaric's horse stopped dead, ears flattening. He gave the reins a sharp flick. Nothing. The animal only glared, jaw working stubbornly.
Move.
The horse stood. Elowen's lips twitched. She bit back a laugh, but it escaped, a low sound that startled even herself.
She likes you.
She caught Alaric's sideways glance. His silver-grey eyes flickered with something. Disbelief, or just cold calculation.
This is undignified.
His tone was so stiff it made her want to laugh again. But the field shifted, a ripple through the mist, something huge and spectral brushing the grass. Elowen's skin tingled. The pulse in her veins quickened, cinched now with the distant, relentless hooves. She slid from her saddle, boots sinking into the sodden earth. Alaric followed, tension vibrating through every measured movement.
Stay behind me.
She shook her head, cloak swirling. The cold bit through, but her stare was set.
I'm bait. You know the wolf comes for me.
For a heartbeat, the only sound was the damp hush. The grass, the hooves, the wind carrying the ghost of a howl. Alaric's jaw tightened. He stepped shoulder to shoulder with her, voice low and precise.
If you fall,
Then you catch me. Or run. Choose.
She let the wolf's hunger rise in her, let it burn in her eyes. The mist parted enough to reveal a glimmer, spectral fur, amethyst eyes burning with ancient want, just beyond the tombstones. She stepped forward, grass brushing her ankles, blood roaring in her ears. The wolf prowled closer, then stopped, its gaze locked with hers, something like a question hanging in the air. It opened its jaws, a voice unfurled, echoing in her mind. Each word a growl.
Bring them, blood for stone, old king, tombs.
The wolf's form blurred, melting with the mist until only paw prints remained, stained violet against the damp grass, leading straight to the crumbling royal tombs. Elowen's hands shook.
it left a trail. It wants something. From the tombs.
She stared after the vanished shape, a knot of dread and fierce hope tangling beneath her skin. And in the hush that followed, a new question. What would the wolf spirit demand next? What price would the dead extract from the living before they were done? The tomb's mouth yawned beneath the moss-strangled trees. Damp earth pressed close, thick with the scent of crumbling stone and secrets. Elowen eased through the crack in the stonework, cloak scraping lichen as she ducked inside. The cool air bit at her cheeks, sharper than the rumours that ran through court halls. Her fingers found the wall, gritty and cold, grooves of carved wolves under her touch. The stone rasped against her skin. Veins, too dark now, pulsed faintly beneath her wrist, echoing the magic that brought her here at Alaric's side. Behind her, Alaric's boots echoed once, soft, then muffled by the mossy threshold. He lingered near the entrance, unreadable, but she felt his gaze track every movement, measuring risk and intent. A relief. The tomb wasn't empty. In the gloom, clusters of stones glimmered, soft blue pulsing within a light. She brushed one, almost on accident, and the glow flared, quick and hot, beneath her palm. For a second, an odd calm settled in her bones, as if the stone's warmth pushed back the wolf's hunger gnawing at her veins. Elowen let her hand rest there, curiosity outweighing caution. The light flowed along the carved wolves, illuminating runes she'd missed before. Words, old as the roots above, etched in a language she recognized from fever dreams. She dug at the mortar with a fingernail, tracing each letter, her voice, thin but steady, read the inscription aloud. To bind the spirit is to bind the blood. The wolf's hunger guards the crown. Feed it or be devoured. That was no curse. It was a pact, protection bought with flesh, loyalty paid in suffering. She shivered, the stone's grit biting her palm.
Careful. Some doors are meant to remain closed.
His words were precise, but his eyes flickered, uncertain for the first time. She studied him. He wasn't just afraid for the kingdom. He feared what she might uncover.
You knew.
Not all of it. Enough to want you away from here.
She stepped closer, the stone-cold grit grounding her. Her cloak brushed his sleeve. Neither moved away.
Is the king's illness from breaking this pact?
He hesitated, throat working. The blue light caught the silver in his hair.
The cost was always hidden. My father never spoke, not of the first healer, nor what became of her.
That name hung between them, sharp as the smell of damp, ancient air. The old healer, gone, erased. The wolf spirit's hunger, growing, wild, made sense now. The bloodline, the sickness, the tightening leash around her own fate. A flicker at the far wall, another glint in the gloom. Elowen stepped away from Alaric. She needed space, air, certainty, and knelt by a sarcophagus crusted with old moss. She scraped her fingers along the lid, feeling a raised shape beneath the grime. A second wolf sigil, smaller, hidden. Her veins throbbed, answering something old and deep. The stone beneath her fingertips vibrated faintly. As she pressed harder, the blue light skipped along a hairline crack in the sarcophagus, revealing more runes, ones she couldn't decipher, but recognized as kin to her curse.
What did you find?
She didn't answer, not yet. The hunger in her blood tugged, urging her to go further, to pry, to break, to claim. Some truths waited in darkness. Elowen's hand tightened on the rough stone, knuckles whitening. The pulsing glow crawled up her arm. She didn't let go. Lanterns painted the mist in shifting gold, spilling over the crowd that packed the village square. Music tangled with laughter, urgent and wild, leaking from hidden corners. The scent of roasted apples and cider clung to the air so thickly it turned Elowen's stomach. But her fingers kept reaching for another tart, sticky with syrup, warm against her skin. She pressed her hand to her cloak, searching for a pocket for the slick apple-stained napkin. Alaric moved beside her, his posture controlled, silver-grey eyes skimming the crowd as if every mask held a knife.
You're drawing attention.
Elowen dragged her gaze from the bonfire dancers. The sweetness on her fingers grew unpleasant, making her acutely aware of every gesture.
So are you. You look like a funeral guest at a wedding.
Better that than a spectacle.
A burst of laughter erupted as a masked jester somersaulted past, nearly knocking them together. Relief flickered. Here, no guards, no king issuing orders from behind silk. But the feeling lasted only as long as it took Alaric to catch the hem of her cloak, steadying her before she stumbled. Their hands collided, her fingers, still tacky with cider, pressed to the back of his. Alaric hesitated, his jaw tightening. He let go a heartbeat too late. Lantern light caught on his cheek. For one breath, he looked younger, almost uneasy.
You should eat faster. It's less conspicuous.
Dark humour twisted her mouth. She snapped off a piece of tart and held it up.
Want a taste?
Hardly.
He stepped aside, nearly colliding with a rambunctious pair in wolf masks, spinning arm in arm. Someone dragged Elowen forward into the circle of dancers. The world spun, music sharp, cider burning her throat as she laughed, not entirely by choice. Alaric's effort at keeping pace was, for once, disastrous. He moved with diplomatic precision, stiff as a chess piece, feet landing squarely where they should not. Onlookers roared with delight as Alaric trod on his partner's toes, then his own. His expression soured, but beneath it, Elowen caught the faintest crease at the corner of his mouth, nearly a smile. She escaped the dancers, breathless, landing against Alaric's side. Her sticky fingers left a faint print on his sleeve. He gave her a look, halfway between incredulity and reluctant amusement.
Should I congratulate you or apologize to the village healers?
Don't tempt me. I might drag you back in.
The crowd thickened near the cider barrels. Elowen reached for another napkin to wipe her fingers, only to find it missing. A hand brushed her arm. A stranger in a wolf mask, eyes hidden, voice muffled.
Careful, lady. Not all wolves are loyal.
Something cold pressed into Elowen's palm, a folded scrap of parchment, sticky at the edge with spilled cider. She closed her fingers around it, heart stuttering. Before she could react, the stranger vanished, teeth flashing in a painted grin. She edged toward the shadows, Alaric flanking her instantly.
What did he give you?
Elowen opened the note. Words, jagged and urgent, flee before next moonrise. She held it up, so only he could see. The sweetness on her fingers turned to grit.
Someone knows.
Alaric's eyes narrowed, studying the message. Then the crowd.
And now, so do we.
Music swelled, covering the tremor in his voice. The lanterns bobbed, laughter rising, deaf to the warning pressed tight in Elowen's fist. Somewhere in the crowd, another masked figure watched. Elowen's veins ached, the taste of cider sour on her tongue. The note crumpled in her sticky palm. Not all wolves are loyal, and the moon was already climbing. The tang of rosemary and burning sage stung Elowen's nose before she opened her eyes. Firelight flickered against the rough-hewn beams overhead, warping the shadows across the healer's hut. Outside, the distant echo of wolf howls shivered through the misty dawn, but inside, the air was dense with a scent of crushed herbs and old secrets. She lay on a cot, woolen blanket pricking her skin, her own breath shallow and sharp. She tugged the neckline of her dress aside. The black veins had spread overnight, now a spiderweb across her collarbones and branching lower, each marking thrumming with a sinister pulse. No amount of scrubbing would erase them. The festival's music still rang in memory, but now there was only the curse, crawling closer to her heart. Sleep had brought no mercy, only a deeper terror. The wolf spirit had come for her, not as a whisper, but a force that crashed through her dreams. Its silvery fur shimmered with streaks of violet, amethyst eyes burning holes in the fog. It spoke without words, the demand gouged into her mind as if by fangs. A sacrifice, another. The king's life bought by fresh blood. She had refused, first with words, then with every scrap of will she could muster. The wolf's hunger pressed harder, its presence strangling, as if the scent of sage and fear was all it breathed. When she tried to argue, it only growled, breath hot and cold at once. One more, or the king dies, or you die. She sat up, heart a staccato in her throat, sweat slicking her palms. The veins felt tight as iron bands. With each beat, her time drained away. Footsteps creaked on the boards. She reached for the nearest object, a pestle heavy in her hand, but it was only Alaric. The dawn painted his face in pale light, eyes unreadable as ever, the lines of his jaw sharper in the hush. He carried a cup, steam curling, herbal, bitter. He set it within reach, but didn't force it into her hands.
You look as though you fought a war alone.
His words were careful, almost formal. She hated how easily he held himself, like nothing could touch him. Yet, when he met her gaze, something flickered, a hairline fracture in all that composure.
I'm not alone. Not really.
Her voice was rough. She tried to draw the blanket tighter, but the veins showed anyway, black against skin, a secret no longer hidden. He didn't stare. Instead, he busied himself with the fire, feeding it a bundle of dry rosemary. The smell sharpened, pushing back the sourness of dread.
The wolf spirit pressed you again.
Not a question. He always spoke as if the answer was already known. She looked away, jaw clenched.
It wants more. It won't let me stop.
She expected him to argue or offer a strategy, but Alaric's next words were softer than the crackle of flame.
What did it demand?
Her hand trembled on the cup. The warmth seeped through her fingers, anchoring her in the moment.
A sacrifice. For the king. Another life, or the curse finishes its work.
He was silent for a long moment, studying the fire. The dancing light threw his features into relief. Not just diplomatic calm, but strain at the edges.
And if you refuse?
The question bit harder than any threat. She had seen what happened to those who defied the wolf. The empty husks, the eyes gone blank in the dark.
Then, Edric dies. So do I. Or worse.
The words tasted of ash. The wolf's demand was a noose. She could already feel it tightening. The silence spun out, filled only by the crackle of burning sage and the distant sound of shutters rattling in the cold. Alaric poured himself a cup, hands steady but too still.
You give, it takes. Refuse, it destroys. Is there a third path?
She considered lying, but the truth felt heavier.
If there is, I haven't found it.
A log shifted in the fire, sending a hissing curl of smoke towards them. The rosemary's sharpness made her eyes sting. Or maybe that was something else. She pressed a palm to her chest, feeling the veins fever beneath her skin. The king's face flickered in her mind. Proud, desperate, always reaching for power. Was his life worth another's blood? Was hers?
You do not have to carry this alone.
She almost laughed, a dry, brittle sound.
You think you can shield me from a spirit's hunger?
He met her gaze for the first time, eyes like winter steel. For a moment, she couldn't look away.
I can stand beside you. That will have to suffice.
She felt the warmth of his hand, just brushing her wrist. No excuse, no command, just contact. The moment lingered, a thread drawn tight between them. Neither spoke of it. The air prickled with the scent of rosemary and something more dangerous. Outside, the wolf howls rose again, nearer now. She closed her hand over his, not trusting her voice. The curse crawled higher across her chest. Choices narrowed. Time slipped. The next demand would not be delayed. The wolf spirit's words pressed behind her eyes. Inescapable. Sacrifice. Or surrender. Choose. She stared into the fire, and for the first time, wondered if breaking the cycle meant becoming the monster herself. Crickets sang in the grass, their music thin and wild beneath the silver moon. The clearing was drenched in cold light, every blade of wet grass glistening beneath Elowen's bare ankles as she stepped forward, barefoot, veins spiraling black across her collarbones, cloak trailing behind her like a warning. She stopped only when Alaric's shadow crossed hers. Mist hung low, blurring his midnight blue doublet and the sharp line of his jaw. His hands were at his sides, fingers curled, not quite meeting her gaze. Elowen's voice was threadbare but unshaken.
Why did you bring me here?
The air tasted of rain-laced pine. Her skin, crawling with the curse, felt every dew-damp blade tickle at her feet, a detail that should have made her shiver, but all she had was anger and cold hunger. Alaric's eyes flashed, pale silver, unreadable.
You asked for the truth. The forest is the only place the king's spies do not reach.
She let the silence settle, heavy as wool, determined not to fill it.
Speak plainly. No more riddles.
He exhaled, the faintest mist curling from his lips.
Edric is not only my king, he is my brother, my blood, and for a time, his rival.
The crickets faltered. Something inside her twisted.
You're royal.
Her bare toes pressed into the grass, searching for something solid as the world tilted. Distant wolf howls faded, leaving only the steady thump of her own blood.
Illegitimate, but not invisible. My mother was the king's first scandal. I was meant to inherit the curse. Instead, he did.
She remembered the parchment, his warnings, the way he'd watched her every move. Pieces slid into place, none of them comfortable.
So you serve him because you have to?
Alaric looked away. The moonlight caught the silver in his hair, shadowing his face.
I serve because the alternative is exile, or worse. I serve because the wolves would tear this kingdom apart for a weaker heir. I am a diplomat, possibly the world's most miserable one.
He almost smiled. The sound was dry, almost brittle.
Some days, I think I should have let them exile me, or eaten me. It would be less tedious than navigating Edric's moods.
Elowen almost laughed. Almost. The cool grass at her ankles grounded her instead.
You lied to me, again and again. You watched while he threatened me, while the curse spread.
Her hand shook, but she didn't lower it.
I did. It was a calculation. I thought protecting you from the outside was safer than telling you the truth.
A crack ran through his composure, his voice softer, not quite steady.
If you wish to strike me, do it before I change my mind.
Her anger faltered, her chest ached in a way the curse couldn't explain. She stepped closer, faces inches apart, the wild smell of him, ink, pine, and something unfamiliar, making her curse itch beneath her skin. She wanted to hit him. She wanted to trust him. She wanted to run. Instead, she whispered.
Why tell me now?
He didn't lean away. His lips parted, hesitating, as if the answer cost him something dear.
Because the king will ask you for blood. Mine if he grows desperate, or yours. I want you to know who I am before he tries to use us both.
The grass pressed cool against her ankles, the only steady thing in the world. Her hands hovered between them, not touching, but close enough that she could feel the tremor in his. A cricket leapt suddenly, breaking the spell. For one heartbeat, they almost moved together, her breath catching in the dark. He looked at her, stripped raw, no mask, only hunger and regret.
If you decide to trust me, do it because you choose to, not because I am convenient.
Her veins burned. The grass felt impossibly alive. She wanted to scream, to kiss him, to drag the truth out of his mouth with her own teeth. But all she did was stare, heart cracking, as he waited and waited. The night held its breath. The wolf spirit was nowhere and everywhere at once. Elowen's next words stuck half-formed. Did she trust him? Should she? She never got the chance to answer. Not before the sky split with a howl and the king's summons tore through the trees. Rain beat against the moss-choked roof, filling the healer's hut with damp earth and sage. Weak firelight cast tangled shadows across the walls. Elowen sat on the edge of a rough cot, wool cloak clinging to her shoulders, veins blooming black beneath her skin. Each pulse was sharper now, as if the wolf spirit was clawing its way up from her chest. She pressed her fingertips to her neck's hollow. The veins thickened overnight, dark as spilled ink, jagged at the edges. A voice, not truly hers, not truly other, circled inside her mind. Hunger, cold, run. Did she know what was waiting for her? Alaric stood by the hearth, half-shadowed, arms folded, watching her with unreadable eyes. The fire flickered, devouring the last of the kindling. His coat was heavy with rain. He hadn't left her side since the clearing. A spark of fear crackled through her. He should leave. The king's brother risking everything for a cursed girl no one would mourn.
You should go. If Edric finds you here.
His boots tapped against crumbling stone as he crossed to her. He knelt, too close, and held out his hand, palm up, silent. Her breath caught. She meant to pull away, but his hand was warm, alive, and her fingers ached with longing for the simplest thing. Human touch. Elowen let her own slip into his. His grip was steady, calloused, stronger than she remembered.
He will not come.
His voice was iron, but his thumb traced a barely there circle across her knuckles. She hated herself for noticing. The wolf voice pressed harder against her thoughts, a raw, sharp thirst. Run, tear, take. She squeezed her eyes shut.
It's getting worse. I can hear it now, in my head.
Alaric's face betrayed nothing, but his hand tightened around hers. The warmth of his skin bled into her palm, daring the cold out.
That is how it begins. The spirit pushes, you hold. Do not surrender.
A beat of silence. The rain's drumming faded behind her own breath.
You say that as if you know.
He looked past her, jaw tight, eyes far away.
I have watched it before. From the outside, never from within.
The wolf in her blood howled, wordless, hungry, her lips curled in disgust.
You watched them die, or change.
He did not answer immediately. The candle guttered, spiraling smoke into the air.
I watched them fight. Some won, few.
The hut felt smaller. She wanted to ask what became of those who lost. She didn't. Instead, she focused on the heat of his hand. Her own was almost numb, veins crawling toward her jaw, skin thinning each hour.
If I lose? If I become that thing?
Her throat closed, words hard as stone.
You will not.
No softness, only the certainty of a man used to command. Yet his thumb kept moving, tracing the same pattern across her skin. Grounding, maddening, real. The wolf voice battered her again. Run, hunger, blood. She flinched. He saw.
What does it say?
It wants out. It wants me to let go.
He said nothing, but he didn't pull away either.
You could bind me, lock me somewhere, safer for you.
A flicker of a smile, not amusement, but something sharper.
You are not a beast to be caged.
The fire collapsed inward, embers hissing. They sat in the dim orange glow, hands locked. She felt the hunger inside her, tearing at the edges, yet the warmth of his palm was an anchor. It tethered her to the world, to her own skin. She exhaled, a sound closer to a sob than a sigh. The wolf's hunger pressed tighter.
If I forget myself, you have to stop me. Promise me.
He drew a slow breath. She felt it, the tremor he tried to hide, where his hand met hers.
I do not make promises I cannot keep.
She stared at their joined hands, at his fingers enveloping hers. Her pulse stuttered, her body torn between comfort and terror. A memory surfaced, sharp as splinters. Her mother's arms, rain on wildflowers, lost things. The wolf voice laughed in her head, mocking. The rain grew harder, beating on the roof like distant paw steps. Alaric's hand, still wrapped around hers, was the only warmth in the world. For a heartbeat, she allowed herself to lean into it. The wolf voice surged, sharper, louder, a cold rush in her skull. Something inside her jolted, her vision narrowed, edges swimming with silver. She bit down hard, refusing to let go. The warmth of Alaric's hand was the only thing keeping her anchored. He saw her jaw clench, veins racing up her neck.
Elowen, stay with me.
The wolf howled inside her mind. Her lips parted, and the voice that answered was not entirely her own.
I am trying.
Her grip on his hand tightened, desperate, afraid she might never feel human skin again. Rain lashed the windows. The candle sputtered out. In the sudden dark, the wolf within her waited, patient and hungry, and Elowen was left holding to the last thin thread of herself. The moss was cold and slick beneath Elowen's knees, its dampness seeping through her dress. Ivy twisted through broken altar stones, their edges furred with lichen. Dawn light filtered through the branches in pale, trembling beams, but the storm clouds overhead had not yet broken. The air tasted of rain and earth, so heavy she could almost chew it. She didn't know what awaited her here. She pressed trembling hands to the scarred altar and tried not to flinch as the prickling moss crawled up her bare fingers. Her veins, strange, branching, wolf-dark, throbbed beneath her skin, pushing higher. Each time her heart kicked, each breath scraped raw, as if the wolf spirit was gnawing inside her ribs. Alaric knelt beside her, always composed, even here, his hand steady as he touched the ruined stone. The blue velvet of his sleeve darkened with dew. He said nothing, just waited, as if the outcome had already been decided. Elowen shut her eyes. The old magic here still lingered. She could taste it, bitter as copper. This was where the first bargain was made, where her fate had splintered. But what did the spirit want from her? She didn't know. She let her voice rise, rough and thin.
I know you're listening. Show yourself.
The wind caught, whistling through the stones. The temperature dropped, a sickly, wolfish cold that pressed against her chest. She forced herself not to shudder. Something moved in the mist beyond the altar. A shape, silver, ragged, jaws glinting with spectral frost. The wolf spirit stalked from the ruins, its body half shadow, half flesh. Storm-grey eyes fixed on Elowen. They matched hers exactly. Her blood turned hot and sick. She dug her nails into moss, grounding herself. Alaric's eyes flickered to her face. A muscle ticked in his jaw, the first betrayal of calm. The wolf spirit circled, each step, silent on the wet stone. Its voice was everywhere, inside Elowen's skull, in the tremble of roots, under the altar.
You called me here, child of ruin. Do you come to beg for mercy?
Elowen forced herself to look up, meeting those impossible eyes.
I came to bargain. My life for the kings. Release me.
Her voice was steady, but she tasted dread on her tongue. The wolf's head tilted, almost mockingly.
Another bargain. Like the first queen. Do you know what she gave?
Elowen's breath stuttered. She'd read the old stories, the queen who vanished, the curse that followed. Her thoughts raced, piecing fragments together. Alaric's hand tightened on the altar.
You don't need to do this.
Elowen didn't look at him.
I won't let it end with me.
The wolf spirit's fur bristled, silver light cracking along its back.
She bled for a faithless king. She was devoured by her bargain, and so shall you. This curse is her vengeance. My vengeance.
Elowen's mouth went dry.
You're...
The wolf's form shimmered. For a heartbeat, a woman's face flashed regal, pale, with storm-grey eyes, then the beast again. Alaric exhaled sharply, as if he'd been struck. Even in this light, his composure fractured. His eyes darted between Elowen and the spirit, searching, calculating, desperate. Elowen's knees ached from the rough lichen, but she held herself steady.
What do you want?
Her voice cracked.
You set a price. Name it.
The wolf spirit paced closer, breath curling in the dawn air.
The king's blood called me. His line bound me here. If you wish to break the chain, the price is not your life. It is his.
A silence, thick as grave dirt. Elowen's hands trembled. She felt the moss dig into her palms, wet and biting. Alaric spoke, but softer than before.
Edric is...
The wolf's gaze snapped to him.
Not Edric. You.
The words landed like a blow. Elowen stared at Alaric, at his unreadable face, at the storm-grey shining behind his mask. Her own eyes mirrored in his. That detail hit her like a punch. The resemblance, the bloodline, the reason he never fit. A memory flickered, the way the wolf spirit had watched her, not as prey, but as kin.
Why?
Her voice was barely air, the spirit bared its teeth.
His blood is tainted with broken vows. His loyalty is poison. He shielded the king from consequence and let you suffer in his place.
Alaric's hands curled atop the mossy stone, knuckles white. He finally looked at her, letting the mask drop.
It was never supposed to be you. I tried.
She cut him off.
No more lies.
A distant rumble of thunder, somewhere behind the clouds. Elowen's body shook, not from cold, but from something rawer. The wolf spirit's voice grew softer.
Choose, Elowen. Does the chain end here, or do you cling to what little you have?
Elowen wanted to scream. She looked at Alaric, at the flicker of regret in his eyes. His fingers trembled, just once. She remembered the bitter taste of betrayal. The comfort he offered, always measured, always just enough. The kindness that never asked. The secrets he wore like armor. She could feel the cost, like teeth poised at her throat. Was it worth it? A drop of dawn broke through the storm, painting her face gold for the first time in days. The moss beneath her knees warmed, if only for a second. She closed her eyes, then she opened them, made her choice, and spoke.
Take me instead.
The wolf's snarl was half human, half beast. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Outside the altar, birds began to sing. The wolf spirit lowered its head, storm-grey eyes burning into hers.
No.
It whispered.
I want what was promised.
Alaric's shadow stretched toward her, long and thin. His voice came ragged.
If there's a price, it should be mine.
Elowen reached for him, her hand outstretched as if the contact might anchor her. The moss was slick under her palm, their fingers brushed, desperate and clinging. The wolf spirit surged forward, jaws wide. A beam of light split the clouds. Elowen gasped as warmth flooded her skin. Hope, sharp and sudden, cutting through despair. The wolf's eyes, her eyes, narrowed.
Elowen, choose, now.
And the world held its breath. Blood smeared the altar stone, slick, sticky, cold beneath Elowen's palm. The dawn light, weak and trembling, spilled between the trees and made the crimson streaks gleam. The air pressed close, heavy with the metallic tang of blood and the scent of rain-laced moss. Her knees ached against the rough stone. Her veins, black and writhing, crawled up her wrists, alive with the wolf spirit's ancient hunger. The spirit's form shimmered at the edge of sight, half-shadow, clawed and massive, eyes burning with storm-grey fire. Its voice pressed in, velvet and merciless, echoing in her skull. It is time. Choose. The pact was sealed in royal blood. It ends with royal blood. Elowen's hands trembled. Her mother's lullaby, soft, fractured, barely remembered, threaded through her thoughts. The words surfaced, sharp as broken glass. Blood to bind, blood to free. She swallowed, the taste of iron on her tongue. Alaric stepped into the circle of dawn. His doublet was stained, sleeves pushed back, silver-grey eyes, unreadable as ever. He didn't flinch from the spirit's presence. His gaze rested on Elowen, searching for something she didn't dare name. A drop of her blood slipped down the altar, finding the lines his blood had drawn hours before. He knelt beside her, boots scuffing moss. The air between them buzzed, threat, promise, something like hope.
Give me your hand.
Elowen's breath snagged in her chest. She pressed her palm flat to the stone. The sticky blood smeared between her fingers.
Why would it work?
Healer's blood, royal blood. Both must break the pact willingly. The old songs weren't wrong.
The wolf spirit's form surged, claws scraping against stone that didn't crack. Its voice curled around her bones. You refuse the price? Then you die as all the others. Elowen didn't pull away as Alaric's hand gripped hers, his skin warm and slick with her blood. His pulse hammered, betraying what his face never showed. A flash of memory, her mother's hands thin and clever, guiding her through fever and pain. You can always unmake what was made, if you're not alone. Elowen squeezed his hand, hard enough it hurt.
No more bargains.
The curse twisted, fighting, burning up her arm, clawing at her ribs. She dug her nails into his skin, anchoring herself.
What do you want, Elowen?
The altar stone was slick beneath their joined grip. Blood, hers and his, trickled into the deep grooves, old magic hissing at the contact. She forced herself to speak, voice low, steady.
I want it gone, even if it costs me.
The spirit bared invisible fangs. The hunger clawed, frantic, then faltered. The joined blood steamed, veins lighting under their skin with a ghostly silver glow.
You don't have to.
I do. I choose it.
The wolf spirit roared, wind tearing through the clearing, branches rattling overhead. The curse inside her writhed, screaming. Elowen's mouth filled with blood. She held tighter.
Let go, Alaric. You don't owe them anything.
He shook his head, something raw flickering behind his eyes. He shifted closer, his brow nearly touching hers.
You're wrong.
Their blood mingled on the altar, slick, glistening, seeping into the cold stone. Old magic twisted, uncoiling. Elowen felt it, the chain breaking, the cost dragging at her soul. The pain peaked, then receded. The black veins faded, turning grey, then vanishing beneath her skin. A warmth flickered in their entwined fingers. A pause. Alaric's voice, almost a whisper, cut through what remained.
I didn't come back for the crown.
Elowen's grip slackened. She looked up. The wolf spirit's shape dissolved, retreating to mist, its hunger sated, or denied. But the warmth in her hand, twisted, sharp, bittersweet. Deep inside, something precious slipped away. A melody she'd carried since childhood, her mother's lullaby, now a hole in its place. The price. She knew it, even as she clung to Alaric's hand, neither of them letting go. Above them, the clouds split, a single beam of sun striking the altar's blood-slick stone. The spell was broken, but not all debts were paid. Somewhere in the trees, a second set of eyes watched, cold, calculating. The hunt was not over. Dawn slid its pale fingers across the village green. Grass glistened, slick with dew, and cold clung to Elowen's ankles beneath her frayed dress. Laughter drifted above the old festival music, awkward and astonished, as if the land itself was learning how to breathe again. Elowen stood on the same spot where she'd once knelt in chains, the memory sharp as stone beneath her feet. Now, the iron was gone. Children pushed through the crowd, reaching up with fistfuls of wildflowers. Garlands found her shoulders, heavy, fragrant, their petals cool against her skin. The perfume jolted her, tangled with damp moss and something sweet she couldn't name. She nearly flinched, but she held still. Let them honor her. The garlands pressed down, not as a collar this time, but as a crown the people built together. The village pressed in, uncertain. Faces she once knew as judges now watched her with wary hope. Someone started to clap, hands meeting awkwardly at first, then grew louder, joined by others. The sound built, chasing the chill from the air. Elowen let a smile flicker, small but genuine. Her heart stuttered, unsure if it could trust this peace. She reached up, brushed a garland's petals with her fingers. Her voice steadied, though her ribs felt like glass.
You saw me chained here, once. You see me standing now.
The music faded. A hush swept through the assembly.
I carried your curse. I broke it, for you. But no chain holds me now, or any of you.
A little girl in a muddy dress reached out, pressing another garland into Elowen's hand. The touch grounded her, soft and unexpected. Elowen draped the flowers across the ruined altar stone, marking the place with memory and promise.
Remember this day. The curse ends here. We choose who rules us, no matter what blood says.
A wave of surprise rippled through the crowd, then relief. Then, for the first time, real joy. The children circled her, weaving laughter through the air. One handed her a wilted daisy chain. Elowen knelt down, let the little ones crown her head. Warmth bloomed in her chest, fierce and stubborn. From the edge, Alaric waited. He stood tall, midnight blue velvet damp with dew. His expression was unreadable, all calculation, but something trembled at the edge of his mouth. He stepped forward.
You speak as if the past can be unmade.
His voice was careful, measured, but his eyes darted between Elowen and the villagers, calculating costs, gauging loyalty.
We can make something new.
Alaric's jaw twitched. He looked almost uncertain.
The council expects a king, not a bargain.
Let them expect what they will. I stand for myself. Today, so do they.
A grey-haired woman pushed through the noise. The old king's curse is gone. Alaric bled for us. If Elowen trusts him, I will too, she called out. That was enough. The crowd surged with approval, voices rising. Children tossed more garlands, laughter threading through the lingering tension. The wildflower perfume thickened, but now it meant victory, not restraint. Alaric glanced at Elowen, his composure thin as glass.
You have rewoven the web. You understand the dangers.
He reached for her hand. His grip was firm, still cool, but warmer than before. Not command, a plea disguised as protocol. Their fingers touched, brief but real.
Dangers change. So do we.
At the edge of the green, a messenger appeared, a young boy with a battered satchel. He offered a sealed parchment, eyes huge. Elowen took it, snapping the wolf's head wax. Inside, a few lines, quick and urgent. Council demands your presence. The king is dead. The witch's debt is not paid. Elowen stared at the words, pulse leaping. The villagers pressed closer, seeking reassurance, not knowing what the letter held. Alaric saw her unease.
What do they want now?
Elowen let the garlands settle on her shoulders, their scent strong enough to sting. She remembered the bite of the wolf's collar, the weight of iron. Now, the weight was choice, and the iron was gone.
A reckoning. For both of us.
Thunder rumbled, distant but insistent. The music faltered. At the green's far side, the council's heralds gathered, and with them, a figure in a black cloak she did not recognize. Elowen let herself smile, fierce and tired, as she stepped toward them. 2 open threads trailed in her wake. The council's demand, and the cloaked stranger who watched only her. The wildflower perfume followed, bright and unyielding, as the kingdom's fate changed hands once more. Mist clung to the forest floor, seeping into Elowen's shoes as she walked the path. Sunlight crept through the branches, dappling her cloak and catching on the wildflowers growing tall at the edge of the trail. Rain-laced earth rose with every breath, tangling with the faint sweetness of crushed petals beneath her soles. Alaric's hand was steady in hers, neither tight nor loose, just present, an anchor as the world shifted from threat to peace. The scars on her arms, once dark and jagged, were faded now, trails of silver beneath pale skin, visible each time her sleeve slipped back. Birdsong fluttered overhead. She let it fill the silence in place of old screams. They walked without hurry, dew gathering at the hem of her sage-green dress. The forest felt newly alive, but every step forward carried the memory of chains, of hunger twisting beneath her ribs, of the wolf spirit's voice curling in her blood. When they reached the old altar stone, Elowen stopped. The moss was thick here, soft as fur. Once, she'd been forced to kneel, iron manacles biting her wrists as villagers watched and whispered. Now, she knelt on her own, just to gather a fistful of wildflowers, blooming in the stone's cracks. The silk of the petals slid across her fingertips, delicate and cool, a sensation she almost didn't trust.
You are not bound anymore.
He spoke quietly, as if the forest itself might judge him for breaking the silence. She glanced up to find his unreadable eyes on her, the same silver grey as the dawn sky, but softer now in the sun.
No.
She rose, gust on her knees, wildflowers clutched in one hand. The scars on her arms flashed like veins of moonlight. She didn't hide them. A breeze shifted through the leaves, carrying another sound, a thread of melody unfamiliar to both bird and wind. Elowen paused, fingers flexing around the stems. The tune drifted close, then vanished, replaced by the creak of distant branches.
Did you hear?
She cut herself off. Alaric shook his head, his expression unchanged, but she caught the way his gaze lingered on the trees. They walked on. Alaric's hand returned to hers, colder than before. He didn't speak of the music. She didn't ask again. The path curved past sun-dappled stones. Elowen's cloak brushed swaths of wildflowers, their silken petals cool on her skin. She dropped one blossom, then knelt briefly to retrieve it, feeling the weight of the moment. Everything was different, yet the forest kept its secrets. When her fingers brushed the fabric of her pocket, she found the carved wolf figurine he'd once given her, meant as a warning, now worn smooth by her touch. She closed her hand around it, the meaning changed forever. Not a threat, but a memory, and perhaps a promise.
You carved this when you thought I was the enemy.
He looked at her, holding her eyes for a long beat.
And now?
She slipped the figurine back into her pocket.
Now I keep it for myself.
Their path took them home, past roots and tangled grass, past scars and spent curses. The village roofs appeared in the distance, smoke curling from hearths. Elowen reached her door first. The wood was damp from morning rain. At her feet, caught on the step, was something pale and fine. A single lock of silver fur, bright against the old stone. She stared at it, wildflowers trembling in her grasp, the scent of rain and earth thick in her lungs. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. The new dawn was theirs, but the old shadows had not scattered. Thank you for listening. If this story moved you, please consider subscribing or leaving a like. I'd love to hear which moment struck you most. Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, may your own stories find their endings and your shadows remain gentle.